It's late at night in Grand Island, Nebraska, and employees are arriving at the city's sprawling meatpacking plant known as JBS Beef.
These are clearly workers arriving for the 11 o'clock start of the graveyard shift.
We were staked out in our vehicle trying to get a glimpse of who's showing up for work here. The U.S. Department of Labor did the same thing this past summer after receiving a tip from law enforcement about possible child labor violations here. When inspectors went inside the plant, they made a startling discovery. Among the adults on the job here, there were more than 24 underage workers. One employee was as young as 13. This PSSI training video online offers a glimpse of the kind of work that children were reportedly hired to do until the Department of Labor intervened. Federal records obtained by Scripps News describe teens suffering injuries from chemical burns, then going to school and falling asleep in class. One 17-year-old quit high school because they were working and tired from cleaning. This 65-year-old man we met works at the plant for JBS and agreed to speak to us about what he saw if we concealed his identity.
Hay un pasillo grande después de mi línea, es la última, y pasaban y sí miraba unos que tenían menos edad.
He told us overnight crews would clean up blood and animal parts on the kill room floor and sanitize dangerous equipment.
Porque ellos trabajan muchos químicos. Los que lavan trabajan químicos.
Is the work dangerous?
Yo digo que sí, porque pues si para uno es peligroso, para uno que tiene edad, pues ahora para ellos más.
All the children discovered by the Labor Department were employed by Packer Sanitation Services, Inc., or PSSI. What inspectors turned up in Grand Island soon triggered a wider investigation. And this past fall, the Department of Labor found 102 minors illegally employed by PSSI at 13 meat processing locations. No city had more underage workers than Grand Island. Inspectors found 27 children at this one plant. PSSI agreed to pay $1.5 million in civil penalties, and the Labor Department touted this case as proof it will aggressively hunt down violations of child labor. But when you go to Grand Island, as we did, you quickly learn underage workers had been something of an open secret in this city for years. Federal court records reviewed by Scripps News show underage employees had been doing jobs in the meatpacking plant since at least 2019, and our interviews with Grand Island residents revealed a child labor problem going back even longer than that.
I have memories of classmates falling asleep in school because they were working overnight.
Audrey Lutz grew up in Grand Island. She was the longtime executive director of a local group known as the Multicultural Coalition, which helps new immigrants settle in the city. She made it a priority to try to help those underage workers identified by the Labor Department.
They're young, they're vulnerable, and they're afraid.
What did they tell you about why they were working in the plant on that graveyard shift?
The majority of the youth that we have spoken with denied working out there. So that reticence to talk to helping adults really indicates their level of fear.
She says many of the teens were part of Grand Island's large immigrant community.
My suspicion is that they are all undocumented.
How easy or not was it to get a job at PSSI without documents?
It is well known in our community that if you didn't have proper documentation, the cleaning crew would hire you.
PSSI told us hiring undocumented workers would be in complete violation of its policies. The company declined our request for an interview about the child labor investigation, and in an email to Scripps News, a spokeswoman wrote, "Our company has a zero-tolerance policy against employing anyone under the age of 18 and fully shares the Department of Labor's objective of ensuring full compliance at all locations."
Children should not be cleaning with hazardous chemicals in the middle of the night. I mean, this is really unacceptable. Where was the Department of Labor for all these years?
Do you work there?
That's a question we also wanted to explore. Our Scripps News investigation analyzed records of inspections by the Department of Labor at meatpacking plants nationwide. We found 22 inspections of the Grand Island plant in the past decade. During that time, the Labor Department documented 16 violations against PSSI or JBS, ranging from unsafe wiring to improper machine guarding. But we found no citations for child labor. The JBS employee who agreed to talk to us said young workers would have been obvious had inspectors showed up in the middle of the night.
Deberían de ir cuando lavan. Pues, ahí se hubieran dado cuenta ellos.
But we are always looking for if there's instances of criminal activity.
Michael Lazzari led the investigation of PSSI for the Labor Department.
Why did it take the Department of Labor so long to detect child labor at PSSI and to act?
For an agency like ours, where we have 10 million employers, we can't be everywhere.
He told us the government has to rely on employers to follow the law and employees to blow the whistle when they see child labor.
How do these kids walk by a guard station in a facility so young, walking into plants every day? How come no one picked up the phone? I have questions about that. That to me is concerning.
Does this PSSI case show that the Department of Labor needs to be doing more?
We are doing everything we can to amp up our efforts to be able to root out child labor where we know it could be.
The penalty for PSSI was $1.5 million. That doesn't seem like a lot.
It is the maximum that we could assess under law.
The Labor Department this week announced new efforts to combat underage work, including asking Congress to boost the maximum civil penalty that can be levied against employers who break the law. In Grand Island, the underage workers seem to have disappeared since the Labor Department's crackdown, and no one we met here could tell us exactly what happened to them.
Where are those children now?
I have no idea if they're working somewhere else in town or if they've moved on. The invisibility of these kids just continues.
And that is a really tough part of this story, not knowing exactly what became of those teenagers. JBS, which owns that plant in Grand Island, was not accused of any wrongdoing. JBS told us that they terminated their contract with PSSI once these child labor allegations came to light. Andrew.
So, Patrick, I want to get to exactly what is an underage worker. I think a lot of us remember those jobs we had when we were 15, 16 years old. Not fun jobs, long hours, but what you're reporting on tonight is something very different than what I think a lot of our viewers can remember when they were teens working.
That's right, Andrew. A lot of jobs are open to teenagers 16, 17 years old, but these jobs are different. The Labor Department declares them hazardous occupations and off limits to anybody under 18. You saw we talked about people using caustic chemicals, getting burns, using power-driven machinery. Labor Department very clear that these are jobs for adults, not those teenagers. Andrew.
All right, Patrick Terpstra, thank you for that reporting.